Present.
Councilmember Keel.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Corvette.
Here.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Thisted.
Present.
Mayor Riley.
Present.
There are 7 members present.
Thank you. And can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councilmember Davis.
The agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Councilmember Sullivan, second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand. The vote is 7-0 to approve the agenda. Agenda is approved. Now we're opening up communications for anyone who would like to speak to the council. Is there anyone online?
For people.
All right, we have people online. The purpose of the public comment period is so that the community can communicate to us, tell us concerns or any other comments they'd like us to hear on the town. We do ask that we limit to non-agenda items only with a 3-minute time period. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Hearing none, I'll close off the communications to council, and now we'll move into the consent agenda. We have a consent agenda, and tonight we're going to have in the consent agenda the first reading of the ordinances for ordinance 2024. Excuse me, 01, establishing the Planning and Zoning Commission, ordinance 2024-02, establishing cable franchise agreement with Comcast, and resolutions, resolution 2024-28, adopting the Colorado Municipal Records Retention Schedule, and resolution 2024-29, approving the town employee handbook. In addition, we have meeting minutes from the February 27th regular meeting, and we have 2 excused absences for council members who will not be able to make future meetings. And can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Or does anyone wish to have anything removed from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Corvette.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion is carried by a 7-0 vote. I do want to make one comment on the excused absences in the future. On a earlier version of the agenda, I had listed the reason for that excused absence, vacation or whatever. In the future, I will not have pointed out that that might put the council member, if they're out of town, at some risk of allowing the public to know they're not occupying their home at that particular time. But we will have the information that is available if any council member desires to know the precise reason. Now we move on to continued business. The first item is the resolution associated resolutions. It's resolution 2024-30, and it's a resolution to oppose House Bill 24-1152. And with that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
And I will turn it over to the town attorney.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Jennifer Madison, town attorney. The resolution before you tonight is 2024-30. And essentially it takes a position on a House bill that was introduced recently in the legislature, 24-1152. And that House bill essentially puts into place land use requirements for municipalities in metropolitan planning organizations. Requires that accessory dwelling units are a use by right in single family zones, and also prohibits local governments in those areas from maintaining parking requirements, owner occupancy rules, and ADU specific design or dimension standards. The town is not located in a metropolitan planning organization, and therefore the requirements of this bill would not apply to the town. However, this is the legislature in the last couple of years has been really encroaching into areas of local planning. And local planning should be a matter of local concern. It should be decided by the town councils, by the city councils that are elected to make those decisions. The citizens in those communities should have a voice. And so what this resolution does is oppose that House bill for reasons that these issues should be decided locally rather than at the state level. And it also takes away authority from home rule municipalities. The resolution that's before you is one that is drafted by CML, and they are encouraging municipalities to take a position on this so that they can really engage in lobbying against this bill.
Does anyone have any questions or discussion?
It's ironic that last year, all the small towns and cities pressed against some of these land use ideas coming out of the Colorado legislature, and we were strongly in favor of that. So ironically, this one does not include the mountain towns. And yet I think this is a matter of policy and philosophy. It is both that we are a hometown, a home rule town, so we can make this. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, absolutely.
Councilmember Davis?
Motion to approve, resolution 2024-30 for all the reasons that we just became a home rule town. And for, very good reason that we do want to make decisions about our town. And while we may not be included right now, my concern would be that there's always the opportunity that they would expand.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Councilmember Permet?
Agreed and seconded.
Councilmember Davis, would you like to make any comments on the motion?
I think I just did. Sorry, I should have wept.
Councilmember Permet, would you like to make any comments?
Same.
Anyone else comments? I think one comment I have is that the state legislature has been, in my view, overstepping the state's bounds and encroaching municipalities like ours. And while this particular House bill does not directly impact Keystone because we're exemptly the mountain community, I believe it's important for us to stand in solidarity with the remainder of the towns in Colorado and the Colorado Municipal League to try to contain the
Yes.
encroachments that the
Yeah.
state legislature is making, and the feeling that Denver and the Front Range knows what's best for the rest of the state. Councilmember Davis.
Gary just suggested that I clarify that the motion is to approve resolution 2024-30, which opposes HR 24-1152.
Right.
And I agree with you that the legislature is overstepping.
Is that clear, that we're motions to pass the resolution proposal? Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? In that case, I'll call the question. All those in favor of passing the resolution to oppose HB 24-1152, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion is carried with a 7-0 vote. The next item is resolution 2024-31, adopting a town social media policy.
I'd ask Jennifer once again to take the lead.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So before you is a resolution adopting a social media policy. The social media policy applies to both employees and it applies to officials. Officials in the policy are defined as elected officials and also appointed officials. So the policy would apply to any members of your boards and commissions, like the Planning and Zoning Commission. The policy is really designed to highlight good use or responsible use of social media, and also to make sure that use of social media is within the guardrails, legal guardrails. The main area that I'm interested in or protecting related to the social media policy is First Amendment rights. And the First Amendment concerns related to social media, the way that they come about is when you create a town social media account, you're creating essentially a public forum under the First Amendment. Just as here we have a public forum in these meetings when you have your public comment period. People have a First Amendment right to provide comments to town council on really any issue. The same is true then for social media. So town establishes a social media account and there are rules that apply to protect against First Amendment violations. You can't prohibit people from commenting on town posts. You can't exclude people from participating in social media. May all remember that Donald Trump got in trouble for doing this. The court said that what he did in excluding people from his Twitter account was a violation of the First Amendment. So that's the main reason why this is, this is the scope of this policy. I'll go through kind of quickly the policy. We have definitions and the overview, and then it talks about the town social media accounts. And they're just guidelines for what town staff can and can't do. You don't want, you want to have some direction and guidance on what's posted on social media, and not just anybody can create a new Facebook page for the town, unless there's a good reason for it, and it goes through appropriate channels. Social media is likely subject to the Colorado Open Records Act. So that's something that is included in the policy. You don't want any confidential information being provided in social media. Then the policy also talks about the use of social media outside of work. And essentially what this is you don't want your employees to be using their town email addresses or representing that they're part of the town when they create social media accounts. They should stay private and personal and not be affiliated with the town. Then the next part of the policy talks about officials' use of social media. And there are a couple of things at play here. When officials use social media in their official capacity, so this is if you're thinking about you as members of town council wearing your town council hat and you're engaging in social media, official to official discussion could be a meeting under the Colorado Open Meetings Law. So that's one thing to be aware of, is that if there are three of you engaging in a public discussion on a social media post, that's a meeting. So the policy addresses that. Also, the policy addresses in your official capacity, it addresses issues related to the Fair Campaign Practices Act. So you really shouldn't be using town social media to engage in promoting or endorsing candidates, because that could be considered a violation of the Fair Campaign Practices Act, because you're using town money to promote somebody. Again, confidentiality is part of this. Then the policy addresses personal use of social media. And this is something that Councilmember Kerr and I were just discussing. One of the things to be aware of is how you present yourself on your social media accounts. So are you potentially creating a public forum by using your individual personal social media accounts to communicate as a council member? Are you opening up your personal accounts to create a public forum? And the issue with that is then if you exclude somebody from your personal account or you delete a post, is that potentially a First Amendment violation? So it's different from when you're in the grocery store and you're talking with somebody about an issue that may be before you and you want to get some feedback from your residents, from citizens of Keystone, from business owners. Yes, that's something that you definitely can do. But when you then use your personal social media account to engage in these discussions, you potentially then opened it up to become a forum under the First Amendment. And then you lose the ability to get rid of people to delete posts. Does that make sense?
So now what you're saying is that from a public official standpoint, we can have a official social media account in our name, where we can solicit that input, community input. Each of us could solicit that community input, and have that form. But if we have a personal email account that isn't a town account and owned by the town, then we should not engage in soliciting public input on issues that are coming before us.
Yes, exactly. And I think you should all decide if you want to allow each of you to have an individual elected official account or not. Some communities have decided that as a town council, that's just too much to manage, having individual elected official accounts rather than just having everything funnel through the town social media account. The way that the policy is drafted is that the town does not create, operate, or maintain social media accounts for the use of officials. So it's under section 5A1. Yeah.
Just that.
So that's part of the personal use of social media, is just giving you those guidelines in terms of not using it for your elected official communications, so that you don't run the risk of a First Amendment violation. And then campaign accounts should be separate too. You should have separate accounts for campaigning. That's a very high level overview of all of this.
So a couple of things that I saw in one of the other social media guidelines that we were looking at. And I don't know if they add value or not, but I just noticed that we didn't have them, and I didn't know if anyone thought that they added value. But one of them added a section, on usernames and handles and how we approach that, saying, you know, if you change your handle to be, you know, the town of Keystone Council 1, you know, that you may be coming across as something that you're not. So they had a little blurb about that. And then also defining the difference between likes and comments. One of those had said that they allowed elected officials and people to like posts, but once you commented, now you're creating an open forum. I didn't know if you know, creating those specific examples are helpful. You know, when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, likes versus, you know, it makes sense to me. I don't know if that's helpful, if it adds value or not, or just makes it confusing, but those were two things that I saw in the other one.
And this is really your policy. So I will give you guidance in terms of legal issues. The likes and comments, I'm not exactly sure the specific language, but could be related to the open meetings issue.
Yeah, it was, and it had said something like, you know, if the town posts something, or, you know, they're doing this and that, or this is coming up, and you can like it, but once you go in and you start commenting, and then, you know, gathering comments, now we're having a discussion, and we're expressing opinions, and we're discussing town business. But that they saw likes as a different category, because you can still like something. But I don't know if you want to be that specific, it's just things that I saw that I didn't know if it was helpful or not.
And again, it's up to you all. This is your policy. You, particularly in adopting a policy that governs your conduct as council member, it's your policy. You can decide if that's something that you think would be helpful and beneficial later on to future councils.
I don't know if, you know, adding more specifics makes it less vague and a little bit more, like, people actually know what they can and cannot do, as opposed to just don't do anything.
Councilmember Permit.
Appreciate that distinction on likes versus comments, because likes drive engagements. If you're looking for engagements to drive traffic and attention to your social media page, because you want people to go by your town, that's a good thing. But drawing a line, so if we don't overstep, I appreciate that. I have a question on page 8 under personal use. Disclaimer required. Am I interpreting this paragraph 4 here, or section 4, whatever it is? An official's personal social media account should include a visible disclaimer that identifies the account's purpose is for personal use and states, for example, the posting on this page do not reflect the town Keystone, or roughly saying that. Am I understanding that we would all be expected to go to our personal pre-existing Facebook pages and put that disclaimer on it somewhere? Or am I misunderstanding this?
No, that is the recommendation. And again, that goes to the question of creating a public forum for First Amendment purposes. So what would happen is the way in which you use your personal accounts, should you unfriend somebody, should you exclude somebody from your page, should you delete a post? Somebody could argue that your page, you know, we're using Facebook as an example here, that your page has been used as a public forum because you talk about town business, because You engage constituents in issues that are before town council. And then if there is a claim, a First Amendment claim that's brought in federal court related to it, what happens is all of the aspects of your social media account would be taken into consideration as to whether you have created a public forum under the First Amendment. And so this disclaimer would be one piece of evidence to show that, no, this is not a official site of this particular council member. It's a personal site, and it does not create a forum under the First Amendment.
Follow up. If you have a relatively locked down social media, it's private, no one can see it unless they're your friend, or comment and refrain from talking about it. Town-related business, is that still necessary to have the disclaimer is written here is the postings on the site are my own and do not necessarily represent the town of Keystone's positions.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
You know, if you're not gonna be using it in that way,
Okay.
then
Thank you.
I think it would probably be beneficial to make some revisions to this particular paragraph.
Offering clarity on when that guidance is applicable.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you for clarifying that.
All right. Other questions or comments? Councilmember,
I've worked social media and managed social media accounts for a couple dozen years. And there's a lot of clarity that we can add here without making it difficult. And I had offered to Attorney Madsen before we started, I would be happy to take another crack at it. There was a few specific, they get this wrong, specificities that we could add that will make it easier for our employees to understand where the lines are. I liked the way you put it, Councilman here. If you knew your last name. That clarity is necessary when you're in the moment and you go, can I do this? Can I do not? And sometimes if it's not clear, you do nothing. And then we have wasted the value of social media, which is really can help us.
Thank you for saying that way better than I have said it. That's exactly what.
I can say sorry. Deal, I know. So when you, that's what statement, and make you an offer, is it too early to make a motion?
well, the question is, if we don't make a motion, then we can just give direction to staff to go back.
Okay.
We do not have to have a motion.
You do not.
Okay, good, well, that's right.
And, other comments, any other desires? Councilmember Davis.
Could I request that the additional information be redlined so we can tell the changes?
Absolutely. I think we did a version of this when we developed the employee handbook and we had conversations about some of the, and perhaps we could do that.
Councilmember.
No, I mean, I appreciate the balance we're trying to
Yes.
play here, and it's awfully difficult, it's very new to the world. But your specific things, I like the idea because I think of things like LinkedIn. You put your title in there, people see that and people that in the community know that, and they'll start sending notes. And LinkedIn is one of those that you accept people, you don't accept people on a very regular basis. So I mean, a simple question, when I have to put that same disclaimer, I'm not even sure where you put them in LinkedIn, for example.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of thing, this kind of a more definition, maybe it's examples, but that clarity would help me because I don't, that was the question I was gonna come up with.
So I am volunteering to do some additional work and if anybody, we've got some open comments here, if you could send them to me so I can incorporate it. And then it goes to Ms. Madsen to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Is that acceptable to the council people?
Yes.
Then I think we have direction to staff to, the council member Kerr will receive individual emails from council members, not emailing all. And, with their recommendations and their thoughts, and then she will put something together and provide it to the town attorney. Is that satisfactory?
Yeah.
The town attorney, for presentation back here.
One follow-up is when, as a council, when would you like to see this? Again, that's a revision.
What, Councilmember Davis?
When is convenient for the two of you? Minute is for next meeting Tuesday.
I think we could turn it into a couple weeks and then let you decide what works.
Okay, we can do that.
How about, by the end of April?
Okay.
Or by the first meeting in May? By the first meeting in May, that gives you time, if we would not object to coming in early. But that gives you a time frame. Is that acceptable to council? All right. All right. The next item is under other business, and it's discussion of the process for hiring the town manager.
Well, I'll make a brief report. The process continued last week with two events. One was the social meet and greet event in this room with members of the public and town council present. Not a huge turnout, but I thought a good way to get to see a different side of each candidate, rather than just sitting there sweating in the chair answering questions. Certainly, had an opportunity to see other aspects of the individual. That was followed on Thursday, the 7th. The council met all day, 2 interviews in the morning and 2 more interviews in the afternoon with 4 finalists for the position. And at the conclusion of the meeting, it was decided to go into executive session later this evening, tonight, to further discuss those candidates and perhaps come up with a final name for that position. But that's to come later this evening. Other than that, we have a lot to discuss later this evening, but that's the snapshot of what happened over the last week or so.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for the council member Thurston?
Forgive me if you just said this, but what is the date for our threshold for the 14 days of notice that we had to provide
Today,
today?
the first notice went out at the last meeting.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah, we fulfilled the 14-day.
14. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, the next item is the report of the mayor, the report of the town manager and staff. Do you have anything additional?
Nothing additional. We had a little time left over this afternoon. I'm happy to go back over anything for anyone here. It was just mainly catch up stuff on how we're doing financially, how our relationship with our accounting firm outside this building is going. It's going well. We had some other matters we discussed. We're interviewing again this week for a deputy clerk position. And we had a discussion about why the town council didn't get paid last week if they were supposed to. But it'll happen the next pay period. They're outraged.
You can tell we were upset. But again, left something important out. Clearly, our employee was paid. That was the important person.
Our town clerk, Maddie, was paid, and she's happy about that.
as indicated by her presence tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
Was there anything else?
No.
One other thing I think is important for the public to know that we also discussed communications with the community. And we're going to be endeavoring through social media and the site email account to provide regular updates to the entire community of how we're going through this transition and items of interest for the community. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Do we want to clarify monthly?
Oh, you must, at least monthly, and perhaps more frequently. Yes. Councilman Fisker.
We also discussed for the benefit of the public, our council and staff's intention to start engaging in community boards and commissions and to whom those responsibilities would fall, because it's important to have engagement in local, whether it's the chamber or the summit stage or the housing authority. We want to make sure Keystone's engaging in those extended boards and commissions. So that's something we're working on.
Anything else? One other item, and I'm looking, I guess it's under the, I'll hold off to the next item. Any other items under mayor and council? Then other matters, that the town manager or council member would like to bring up? One item I would like to bring up. I'm sorry, Councilman Davis. I look this way, then I go this way. And then you raise your hand.
Look, as we are, and this may be in the plans, but as we are attending events as town council members, it would be really nice to have a name tag that says Keystone Town Council.
Mr. Town Manager?
So we have ordered name plates for your, to have at the desk. We can get some, and actually, I think, Councilmember Sullivan brought up, maybe, even,
Yes, correct.
cards. So
Yeah.
cards and, name tags. We'll do it.
Thank you.
There's money in the budget.
And there are opportunities to make relationships,
Yeah.
open discussion.
Right.
And, is there council member comment?
One thing that would, I think, help, a mission that is near and dear to all of us, and that's the Razor 6 intersection, is even little solutions. And I'm not sure quite who to bring it to in a state of transition, but the potholes have grown colossally dangerous at that intersection. And if we could make it safe for people to walk up and hit the crossing lights, that would be a step.
Yeah, I was able to get some contact information on who it, there's been some, we working on the districts, that we're in one engineering district and another district for maintenance or something. So I did get clarification on that the other day, and I need to make a couple of phone calls. And maybe again, what intersection were you talking about just now?
6 to Razor, sorry, on north side.
Where the blinking light is.
The potholes have grown large enough to potentially take out, the suspension of vehicles, not to mention swallow pedestrians in an icy pool.
Yeah, okay.
Appreciate your proactiveness.
Yeah, there's a few, we had a couple other, letters that have been submitted or, emails that will follow on.
Councilmember Keel?
And earlier we had discussed that you were working on the Oro Grande. It is sort of in that same, I don't know if you can tie the county in, at least on that one side. Oro Grande is right there, at his side of the intersection that he's talking about.
And what about Oro Grande?
The potholes that you were discussing earlier with the county.
Not,
So we might be able to maybe link that, maybe the county can take care of at least part of that in that same conversation.
If it's on 6, it's,
But
State-
right
state-
before, it's not on six.
Oh.
That one before is really-
which part of Oro Grande are you talking about? There's 2 sections of Oro Grande.
Well,
Well,
I don't know which side he has contacted about, but
he's been contacted about the, west part of Highway 6. He's also been contacted on the pothole next to Razor Drive, just off on Highway 6 on Razor Drive.
Yeah,
Those are the two, I think, that we've had traffic on.
and that one is super icy.
Yeah, but
on
which other one are you talking about?
That's the one I am talking about.
Oh, that's the one off of Razor Drive.
Razor Drive in between, yeah, where
Yeah, you come off the Razor, take a right, and you disappear.
you disappear, correct? Yes.
Councilmember Fister.
So has there been a consensus regarding reporting the potholes on Highway 6? Is that something that you want? You have the vision of putting the phone number up on the town website so individual residents have access to that and can call and report potholes? Or is that something we're anticipating receiving complaints about in regards to Highway 6? Because the entire north side of the westbound Highway 6 is like a landmine hit it. From the time you get on off Montezuma, clear down to where you turn onto St. John's.
Yeah, I think it would be maybe helpful to have we could put something up on the website and other places where if you want to report a problem, including potholes, here's the number to go to. Something that I think we should probably integrate with our website. The ones we've been getting so far has been folks that have fed up and they've hit a pole. I think there was another one, but it was somewhere a little further away from Keystone that really isn't in our jurisdiction, but nonetheless, it was a complaint that we'll follow up on.
Councilmember Kerr.
I think there's something too powerful about speaking as a town on behalf of some of these issues. But I also want to point out that there are processes that are available to all of us right now. I don't know if I was just lucky, but I reported to the state. I didn't take too long to find pothole reporting. And last year, and they responded within a couple days, and I had the same response when I used a form letter text to the county manager about where Rhode Island lived near. What is the one you on Soda Ridge, and they were there immediately. Maybe it was lucky, but I encourage people to use the processes that exist.
And my question was whether or not we're conditioning the public to take the initiative by posting that number on our website, or whether or not that's a town responsibility that you guys want to have to hassle it. And I don't know what the answer is, I'm just saying.
You know, I think it comes with being in town. You're gonna get complaints, some of which aren't even in your jurisdictions, but I think it's the right thing to be able to respond and let people know that, gee, we can't help here, or definitely we'll get on it. It just seems to me it's part and parcel of becoming a community or a municipality. You
And
know,
especially when there's a lot, and you can speak for
Yeah.
more than one neighborhood. By you, I mean the town manager.
And Jennifer can probably speak to it, but they have, it's my understanding that once you report it, the state has an obligation to fill it within a certain amount of time where they're liable for the damage to your car.
Yeah, it is a dangerous condition and there is liability, not, have immunity for roads.
You would like to think that these are, the plow drivers are out there all the time during the winter. You'd think they would be reporting internally that kind of stuff, but I guess that doesn't quite happen.
There have been things.
I think it'd be interesting for the council members to understand at the next meeting what the process is. The town would be going through, if we receive a complaint like that, how that complaint should be handled, and also if there is a public mechanism for people to report that directly, that should also be probably put on our website and published to the community as well. Particularly since there is the law, the immunity issue, and the liability issue for the state, that it may actually get a quicker response than gathering inputs from the town and then reporting. Any other comments? I do have one all of us have received, and I think some folks got it today, a CML newsletter. We also received information from CML on bills that are before the state legislature. In this session, in the consent agenda, we approved a resolution opposing one of the House bills of this being going forward. There are others that maybe the town might be in, could take positions on. And the question I would ask the council members is, how would you like to address that? Would you like to bring that into the town manager as a suggestion and then bring it up at the next council meeting? Or what way would you like to deal with it? Or do we not want to deal with the legislative bills? Open-ended question. Councilman?
I appreciate the newsletters we get, read them, and there are issues there that I think that we should, just like what we did today, voice our opinion. And I think we all probably get those newsletters, and so bringing them up in other matters, I think would be appropriate.
All right. All right. Agree that that's the way we'll handle it, is when we see those bills that are listed, bring them up in other matters, and then we can make a determination whether we want to have a resolution supporting or opposing, or perhaps even ask someone to testify. That agreeable? Good. All right,
Good question.
yes, Councilman.
I have testified against bills for the legislature. It's just not that hard. So that is something you might want to consider. You may have to sit in front of your computer for hours while you listen to other people speak, but it is something we should probably consider.
The other business? All right, we're now down to the portion of the agenda of moving into an executive session. And can I have a motion to move into executive session? Councilmember Field.
I move to go into an executive session pursuant to CRS section 24-6-402 4EL for determining positions relative to an employment contract with the town manager, developing strategies for negotiation of that contract, and instructing negotiators related to the employment contract.
Is there a second? Councilmember Sullivan.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? It's a 2/3 vote of the quorum present. I'll now call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion's passed with a 7-0 vote. There will be no further action taken after the executive session. No other business will be conducted, and the town council will adjourn the regular meeting at the conclusion of the executive session. And now, if there's, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. And oh, no, excuse me, I'll take a recess. I'll take a recess. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, go into executive session in the library.